Hey guys, so I have another story that I would like to share with you all. This one is not nearly as fun as the last one, but it's still something that I wanted to share. So recently, about a week or two ago, I started feeling this pain in the lower left side of my abdomen. And it was one of those types of pains where if you're just kind of hanging around, sitting, relaxing, you don't really feel it. But if you breathe in really deep, or if you gasp or move the wrong way, then it's like a sharp pain, almost like you're being stabbed or poked with a hot poker, and it's not nice. And originally I thought that it was just like a gas bubble. And any of you that have ever had a gas bubble will know what I'm talking about. It's kind of a specific type of pain. So I figured, no big deal. I'll try to move around a little more. I'll walk my dog for longer periods of time. Exercise is supposed to kind of help push things through the system, if you will. So I figured, hey, move around a little more. We'll see if it works. The next day, it was still there. Hadn't moved any. It was still in the same spot, which was kind of strange. Normally, a gas bubble, even if it's taking its time working its way through your system, it'll move throughout a period of time, especially from waking up one day to going to bed and then waking up again the next day. Normally that would have moved. And so I thought that was a little strange, not a huge deal, but a little bizarre. So again, didn't think too much of it, figured, whatever, I'll just watch what I'm eating, make sure I'm moving a lot, and we'll see if it gets any better. If not, I'll go to the doctor, see what's up. And lo and behold, by day 3 it was still there, still in the same spot. The pain had been getting a little bit worse as I went along, and I got a little concerned. So I decided to go to my local urgent care. Now, it is the summertime, and it gets pretty hot where I'm at in the summer. We've been kind of lucky this year. It hasn't been too terrible yet, but I like it cold. I'm most comfortable in like 65, 70 degrees max. And so when it hits 80, 85, it's too much for me. I like it chilly. And because of that, I had been getting dehydrated. Pretty much always have had issues being dehydrated growing up. I just don't care to drink water that much. It's boring to me. But I have been trying to get better about it. It just, at that point in time, I was dehydrated. I had an appointment earlier that day to get some lab work done. So I went to get my lab work done, and they had kind of a hard time finding a vein where they were able to get blood. So they poked me once and they weren't able to get anything, and resorted to drawing from a hand vein. If you've ever had a drawing from a hand vein, you know that they're not fun. They hurt. Because the veins are so close to the bones in your hand, it's really easy for the needle to kind of slip and bump into that, which hurts really bad. And the back of your hand is just way more sensitive than like the inside, or like the crook of your arm, like, the elbow area right there where they normally draw blood. So they hurt. But anyway, they were able to get blood from my hand. No big deal. Everything was good. They ran the labs. Everything turned out fine. Awesome. So I get done there doing my lab work, and I go to the urgent care. And when I get there, I explain what had been happening. The doctor that saw me really wasn't sure what was going on. The pain that I was having, shaking a little bit, the phone slipped. The pain that I was having was similar to a condition called diverticulitis. And what that is when the pouches in your intestines, one of the pouches can get a little big, and sometimes it gathers up material, can get infected, inflamed, and sometimes turn into an abscess. Super painful. It's potentially dangerous if it goes untreated. So he was a little concerned about that. Wanted to run some blood work to check for signs of infection in case it was an abscess or something like that. So he also decided to draw blood. They also had a hard time getting blood from me, had to be poked twice there as well, but they were successful in getting blood from the crook of my arm, so at least I didn't have to have another hand poke, so that was good. Blood work came back normal. They couldn't really figure out what it was. They put me on some antibiotics just in case there was some kind of infection starting, and said, pain gets worse, move sides, whatever, by 2-3 more days, you might want to go to the ER to get a scan done in case it's something going on that isn't detectable by blood work. They can see it with a scan. So I figured, okay, it's not great. I don't exactly have bundles of cash laying around, but whatever, it's fine. If I need to go to the hospital, so be it. I would rather make sure that I'm not going to die of a burst abscess in my intestine, even if it means paying however many $1,000s to get a fancy scan done. Whatever, no big deal. 2 or 3 days later, pain is still there, hasn't moved, hasn't gone away, hasn't really gotten any worse, which is good, but it's enough that it's very bothersome. So I decide to just bite the bullet and go into the ER. Now, I do work the night shift. Sometimes I work graveyards. And so I get done at work at like 11 at night. And I decide I'm going to go the next day. So Monday rolls around and I go into the ER. Normally it takes a little while to get back, but it only took me 30 minutes maybe to get back into a room, which is very speedy for our ER. Normally it takes a while. I get back there and they decide to run blood work. They also are concerned that they might have to run a CAT scan. And because of a CAT scan, I'm not allowed to drink water because water can interfere with the readings. So, not only have I been dehydrated because I've been in pain and not wanting to really drink anything, they also won't let me drink water there. So they go to draw blood. They don't try poking me right away. They feel around, they put on that tourniquet and then they're feeling around, the tap, 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 poke, poke, poke thing that they do. They do that for like probably 5-10 minutes on each arm before they realize, we're not really finding any veins, so we might have to check for the hand vein. Instead, they decide to use what's called a vein finder. Coolest little gadget ever. They're super neat. This was the first time I had seen one in person. It was really cool. It's kind of like a little box that emits this rectangle of red light, and when that rectangle is put on your arm, you can see the network of veins in your arm or wherever they're looking. And when they got over my tattoos, they couldn't see anything, which I thought was kind of interesting that the ink blocks it. So my left arm was kind of not an option because, on my left arm I have a tattoo here on my wrist, and then further down I have this guy. So my left arm wasn't really an option. On my right arm, I only have this one. So it was much easier to work around. So they were looking on my right arm, and they found a vein running through about halfway down my forearm, I would say. The only problem is with the vein finder, you can see where they are, but you don't know how deep the vein is. So they decide that they're going to try for it because it's a bigger vein. It looks like it's not flat, so they should have success getting blood out of it, assuming they're able to get the needle into the vein. I tell them, you know what, I feel like garbage, go ahead, do what you gotta do. If it hurts really, really bad and I can't handle it, I'll let you know, but do what you think you need to do. We'll get this done. So he goes and he pokes me and he doesn't find the vein. Pokes a little deeper and it hurts, but it's not unbearable. It's not great, but it's not more than I can handle. So keeps going, wiggles around a little bit, still can't quite find it. So then he tries one more time to go a little bit deeper into my arm, and I don't know if he hit a nerve, if there's nerves running in the area that he was poking. I don't know if somehow he got deep enough to hit bone. I have no idea what happened, but it hurt. It was so bad. I don't even know what the noise was that I made. I made some kind of noise that was like, dude, please get this needle out of me. Stop what you're doing. This is bad. We need to quit. So he's like, crap, I'm sorry. Takes the needle out, start bleeding like crazy, but he gets that stopped pretty quickly with the cotton stuff that they use, and decides to move on from there, try something else. So then he tries poking in the crook of my left arm because he sees a small network of veins in the like fold of my left arm, but they look a little small, so he didn't want to try it at first. Decides, what the hey, we're having a really hard time, so we'll go ahead and try it just in case. It's better than a hand poke. I agree. So he tries going for it, fishes around for a little bit, doesn't hurt nearly as bad as the other one did, but he can't get any blood. Eventually, he finally decides, I'm sorry, I don't have much of a choice, I'm gonna have to do a hand poke. Don't want to have a hand poke done, but again, do what you gotta do. I want to stop hurting. I'm tired of not feeling good. Do what you gotta do. Pokes my my right hand. Gets a vein, but it's kind of flat, so they're having a hard time getting blood out of it. The other issue is for a CT or for a CAT scan, they need to have an IV port so that they can inject contrast, so I can actually see the systems and make sure there's no perforation or anything like that causing the problem. So not only did they have to draw blood from my hand, but they also set up an IV port. About an hour after I got put back in my room and all of the failed attempts at drawing blood and finally getting something, they get me back to a CAT scan. And I love medicine, I love learning about it, but I haven't experienced a scan like this before. So I was kind of, oh yeah, I can totally handle this. I know a lot of people get claustrophobic. I don't think I'll have that problem. I don't think it'll be a bad thing. I'll be okay. I was a little bit wrong. I get in there, and they explain to me that the contrast they're going to inject will make me feel very warm and flush, almost like if you drink a lot of alcohol on an empty stomach and it just kind of hits you, your face gets red, you feel a little unstable, things like that. They also explain, and this is the fun part, that a lot of people who have the contrast injected feel like they are peeing their pants. They assured me, you're not going to, don't worry, nobody's ever actually peed themselves while getting this done, but it'll feel like you are. So I'm thinking, great, not only am I in pain, this has been 5 days where I've just been very uncomfortable, and we've had to poke me with a needle, I don't even know how many times in the last week, but now you're gonna tell me that you're injecting me with something that's going to make me feel like I'm drunk and peeing myself. Great. Not a fan, but I'll do it if it helps. So they lay me down on this table. They get my arms situated where they need to be so that they can get a proper scan of my abdomen. And they inject the contrast. I felt like I was peeing myself. It was so bad. It was so bad. Then the machine kind of goes through, they move you around on the table so that it can scan you in various angles and from various spots. And there's a recording that plays that tells you when you need to hold your breath so that it can get the best picture and things like that. It does get pretty close to your face, so it is a little unnerving, especially with everything else going on. Plus the machine is just kind of loud. So it wasn't really panic inducing, but it was just kind of uncomfortable. Get done with the scan. They let me sit for a minute to kind of recover from the contrast and the way it makes you feel, and then they send me back to my room. Little while later, the doctor comes back in and says, hey, so here's what we think is going on. In the abdomen, you have something called the mesentery. And the mesentery is essentially a sheet of connective tissue that connects all of your organs and anchors them in place. And on the mesentery, there's little sacs of fat that your body uses as backup stores in case you're ever in a world of hurt. And sometimes those sacs of fat will get twisted on themselves, or the blood supply will get cut off, or you look at them the wrong way on the wrong day of the month and they decide to get inflamed and they hurt really bad, and it mimics the symptoms of diverticulitis. So they said, here's what's going on. There was a dark spot on your scan that looks similar to this. It's not very common, especially in people your age, but that explains what you're feeling. So they send me home. They explain to me to take some anti-inflammatory medications and that it takes 1 to 2 weeks to go away. Get home, still not feeling much better, but at least I have an answer to what it is, and I go on with my life. One day passes and I'm okay. Second day passes. I go to work my shift, I get home, and about midnight, I'm sitting on the couch just watching YouTube or watching TV, I don't remember, and it was like someone had flipped a light switch. 1 second I was perfectly fine, and the next second I was literally doubled over in extreme pain all the way across the lower part of my abdomen. I felt like somebody had taken a knife and just slashed me across the gut. It was awful. I was almost in tears. I was hyperventilating, trying to, do something to deal with the pain that I was in. So I called a friend of mine who took me to the hospital. She is an absolute saint. She worked the next day and she went with me to the hospital after midnight. And okay, so we get there and it's really busy. Wednesday night, but it's super busy. There's a lot of people there for like stomach bugs, like flu type things. There's a few people that were there for injuries, and then there was me, who's being wheeled in on a wheelchair by my friend, doubled over in pain. I can hardly speak. And I'm in the waiting room for almost 3 hours. 3 hours, doubled over in pain, so bad I can hardly speak. And the best part is it comes in waves. So I'll be fine. It'll be sitting at like a level 3 maybe on a scale of 1 to 10. And then it'll surge and it'll get really bad. And it hits me like a 7 or an 8, which I'm already doubled over in pain because it's bad and it's affecting a large area. But then it surges and gets even worse and I just want to kill somebody. 3 hours later, finally get back and get a room. And they realized that I had been there 2 days ago, and so they were really concerned. They didn't repeat any scans or anything like that. They got in, they did some feeling around, pressing on the stomach, seeing, like what kind of responses I had to that. And they decided it was probably the same thing. They didn't want to run me through unnecessary scans, cause me even more money. Thank goodness for that, because God forbid. And they decided to give me a shot, and it was a shot of an anti-inflammatory medication, way stronger than anything you can buy over the counter, and they said, this should help with the inflammation pain, since that's what we think it is. So they give me this shot, burns like nobody's business, it hurts, it burns. And they have me sit there for a little while longer just to kind of, recuperate, get the discharge paperwork, all that fun stuff, and send me home. They do give me a prescription for a couple things that are supposed to help in the long run, but I decided to wait a while to fill them because by that time it was like 5 a.m, and I wasn't planning on going to work the next day, so I figured, I can just go ahead and fill it tomorrow. So the next day, I get a phone call from the doctors that I have been working with. I've been seeing some doctors for weight loss because I have a few medical conditions that make weight loss by normal means really, really, really difficult. So they started me on some medication that has arguably been very, very helpful. And they had noticed that they got sent lab work from the hospital, the ER, and they were like, "Hey, noticed you were in the ER twice. What's going on? Is everything okay?" And so I told them the whole spiel, gave them the whole story, and the girl on the phone goes, "Oh my God, hold on a second." She puts me on hold, and I'm like, that was weird. Gets back on the phone with me a minute or two later, and she says, "I just talked with the doctor who you've been working with most closely. One of the medications we put you on has a low chance, but is still a chance, of causing severe abdominal pain that mimics diverticulitis." So if I had thought to just call them and say, "Hey, I started this medication a week or 2 ago, and now I'm having these symptoms. Do you think that could possibly be related to the medication that you put me on?" They could have just said, "Oh, yeah, it's probably from the medication. Just stop taking that and we'll get you an appointment to set you up on something else." Saved me thousands of dollars in trips to the ER and CAT scans and shots and drawing blood. But no, I had to just try and tough it out and then panic and then run to the ER and run to the urgent care. So that's kind of why I haven't gotten my nice camera yet. That's why I'm still using my phone. And that's, yeah, I'm feeling a lot better now. I stopped taking the medication that has the potential to cause those side effects, and they've since vanished. I don't know necessarily if it was the medication. I don't know if it was the shot they gave me at the hospital that helped. I have no idea. But yeah, it's it's been a long week and a half for me. 8 or 9 times being poked with a needle. I don't recommend that to anybody. It's not great. So, the moral of this story is, if you ever start a new medication, even if it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the line, you start having some kind of unsavory symptom, ask your doctor first that gave you the medication if it could be related. It might save you thousands of dollars and missed days at work and headaches and needle pokes, and just be smarter than I was. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, and again, be smarter than me. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.